Hello everyone. Thank you for joining for maybe your first AIOps Power Hour or maybe your second or third. We've hosted quite a few of these now. Today's topic for our AIOps Power Hour will be proactive customer service with AIOps in conjunction with CRM. And today I will just be opening the session. My name is Victoria Lowe, and I'm one of the outbound product managers for ITOM, focused specifically on the world of AIOps. And I will shortly introduce you to our fantastic presenters for today. So before we get started, I just want to call out the safe harbor notice for any forward-looking statements that we may make across the session today. Everything that we're stating is to the best of our knowledge right now. However, for statements that are forward-looking, they're always subject to change. We will be talking mostly about generally available items regardless, but just in case, just need to state the safe harbor notice for today. And in terms of some housekeeping, if you haven't attended a Live on ServiceNow webinar before, we've saved time at the end for Q&A, but also we have people ready in the chat or the Q&A module at all times in order to answer your questions. So please, any questions that you have, please put them in the Q&A section of Zoom. If it's not visible to you by default, you may have to click into the More section of your navigation in order to open up the Q&A. So again, please put any questions that you have there. It'll also be helpful for us to track as well. This session is also going to be recorded and shared during or after the event in about 10 business days. This will be made available on the ServiceNow community YouTube channel. So if you wanted to share this with your team later on, you'll be able to send them a link to the recording once it's posted on YouTube. And after the event, you will also be prompted to fill out a short survey. So thank you in advance for your feedback. And I want to give a quick introduction to our presenters today. And I already introduced myself. I am part of the outbound product management team. I am based in Toronto, so good afternoon to anyone who's in the East Coast, but also good morning to those on the West Coast and good evening to those who are a bit further off to the East. But without further ado, let's get started with an introduction from Jimmy, Michael, and Steve. Starting off with Jimmy.
Hey everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Jimmy. Thanks for joining today. I am a solution consultant focused in the ITOM space of ServiceNow, so mostly things in visibility, AIOps. I've been with ServiceNow for just over 15 years and spanning roles from development into the role I'm in today. So it's good to see you and looking forward to presenting to you. Thanks.
Good morning,
Michael.
everyone. Michael Blazer. I am also part of the ITOM Center of Excellence, along with Jimmy. I was a customer for 7 years where I deployed a lot of the stuff we're going to be talking about today. Came over to ServiceNow about 4.5 years ago, representing the ITOM and service operations space with a focus on CMDB and the connected data model and how you can use that to leverage workflows across the platform.
All right, awesome. Steve Wang here. I'm out of Los Angeles, California. I am a solution consultant for the CRM space. I've been with the organization for less than a year, but prior to this, I worked for Salesforce for 4 years, specifically on field services and customer service. So yeah, happy to present what we have today in terms of proactive services. So thank you for joining.
Thanks, Jimmy, Michael, and Steve, and I'm looking forward to your presentation and especially the demo coming up. So as a quick overview before the actual presentation starts and the whole webinar, I just want to do a quick overview of the agenda today. So first we'll address why ServiceNow for proactive customer operations, how we can empower proactive customer operations using the AIOps solution, the solution overview itself, and a quick explanation and background on Electri Fiber, how we can proactively notify customers during network disruptions and dispatching field services, and then a demo of everything that we're talking about as well. And as I hand it over to Steve now, we have our first poll question for you, and that is, how effectively do your operations and customer-facing teams collaborate to resolve issues. We're curious to know where your organizations are right now with regards to cross-team collaboration. And with that, and as you're answering this, I'll hand it over to Steve to take over. I do find it funny. Multiple teams are supposed to work together. Collaboration who?
Multiple teams. There you go.
My contribution to the humor conversation.
There you go.
There's a concerning chunk of people actually answering that. I hope you're joking.
All right. I think we got the final verdict. Let me Awesome. So we're aligned and coordinated manually. Okay. Sounds good. So you guys are in the right spots. Awesome. Okay, let me share my screen here. Allow multiple presenters to share. Okay. There you go. Just want to confirm everything looks
Yep.
good. Okay, cool. Yeah, so yeah, just to start the stage here. So today we're going to be talking about how service now AI ops is going to turn critical data into actual insights. And so this way you can deliver that smooth, proactive service experience for your customers. But before we dive in, we want to think about, think about what's it like to being, reactive, right? If your teams is always responding to incidents after they happen, um, it's beyond putting out the fire. It slows down operations, it's frustrating customers, and it's going to cost a lot of money. Now, taking a moment to kind of think, how are we losing out on from a reactive approach? How much time we're losing out on, how much effort and revenue that's being lost waiting for problems instead of preventing them. So if reactive service hits your bottom line and your customers, the next question is, what are customers expecting from us, today? So that leads us into the next point, which is, customer expectations have changed a lot. And today, lots of products and services are delivered on demand, and people expect them to work anytime and anywhere, right? So when you think about, streaming live sports games or operating in an enterprise business application like, ServiceNow, even a few minutes of downtime can frustrate, viewers and damage trust. And there's a ton of examples around this, issues that could have been prevented or at least minimize any potential impact if downtime does occur. So with expectation this high, reactive service just isn't enough, right? Customers want reliability and seamless experiences. Proactive service assurance isn't an option anymore. It's actually essential to keeping customers happy and business running smoothly. So far, we've seen how customer expectations has evolved and why reactive service isn't enough. But even when organizations want to deliver seamless experiences, disconnected systems often stand in the way. And that's when systems don't talk to each other, right? It affects both customers and your teams. A customer reporting an issue might have, repeated the same information multiple times, and which is going to lead to frustration. And while, support and field teams waste time chasing incomplete data instead of resolving the issue quickly. So we've all been there, right? The support team might not see the service history. The field teams might not know where or what the parts are available. And then the customer ends up waiting longer than necessary. And bridging these disconnected systems is absolutely key to improving, response times and delivering the seamless service that customers now expect. And as these services become more complex, they require more and more collaboration between departments. And this is where ServiceNow comes in, where we're bridging that gap between IT and customer service by putting them on the same platform to service those customers. So from an outcome or capability standpoint here, what we're driving here from ServiceNow's perspective is that number one, first and foremost, ServiceNow is a workflow platform. It's our bread and butter. So we've always been a workflow platform. We'll always will be. And that's what we're providing here, right? We're breaking down those silos between teams, organizations to allow work to flow from customer service to IT to engineering without having to leave and go into, 6 different tools and manual communications channels. And then Michael Blazer, he's going to be going through, deeper dive into this. But we also have that IT backbone, right? That CMDB, that event management data to find anomalies within that data to start predicting when issues are going to happen, so we can prevent the issue from happening. And on top of that, we can proactively notify customers that there is an issue. So this way we can reduce case creation and build trust with the customer. And then lastly, because we're on the same platform, we can optimize those operations, like how we can like we want to think about how can we automate steps, how can we auto notify different people within the existing workflows. So this way we can take those workflows that we have and then continue to streamline, continue to refine them until it becomes very efficient, a very efficient process. All right, so with that said, we have a poll question here. So let's pull that up. Victoria. So how confident are you in your organization's proactive monitoring today? Totally reactive. Got it. Somewhat proactive. Okay. Mostly proactive. Great.
I feel like there's always one person who says fully automated and predictive. But not today. No one's that confident.
Yep. Good. Okay. Somewhat. Awesome. All right. So with that said, I'm going to pass this off to Michael Blazer to help drive that here, the AIOps conversation.
All right. So it's connecting pieces, right? I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Everybody see it now?
Yep. We can see it.
Fantastic. So we just went through that poll question. Let's talk about how the platform as a whole connects all these pieces together so we actually get the end results we're talking about. So from ServiceNow's perspective, as Steve mentioned, right, we're a workflow platform, but really we're relying on a solid set of data down here. The CMDB, the Common Service Data Model, connects all these pieces together. And we're going to show how those connections really help drive the outcomes we're talking about today. And then we got the workflow on top of it, and having the combined workflows between customer support, IT troubleshooting, and alert and event tracking, we're going to showcase today as we go through multiple personas. I will give a quick heads up that a lot of what we showed today will be able to be automated, but we wanted to show the sausage making part of this, right? All the different components and how they work together. So as your business processes, are realized in the environment, you can use these pieces, automate the pieces you want, but see how it's all connected. We'll see a little bit of AI today, making our jobs easier. The way that it takes the data from the workflows and the information that it has to be able to summarize and provide content and context. And then you'll see a chunk of the UX system that we have as well, the user experience with a few different workspaces, playbooks, the portal, how all these pieces come together to give this comprehensive, connective workflow from your front office to your back office. That's specifically going to play out with proactive customer support. It begins with one connected workflow. So this is backwards from the way I think about it because I'm an ITOM guy, but realistically, it's all about the customer and what the customer is experiencing when we talk about proactive customer support. You can see here the customer has a bunch of different engagement layers. We're going to talk about channels a little bit later. connected to the customer support reps, which Steve will be playing that role a little bit later in our demo. In this case, if we go from right to left, we're going to be looking at a monitored system that has discovery in ServiceNow with the CMDB and a service map, the events and alerts that get generated proactively based off of critical change in conditions. Jimmy will expand on that a little more. How we can bring in incident, change, problem to be able to address these issues as quickly as possible. How technical support plays the role of managing the major incident, essentially, and the transition to cases, which are forward-facing customer records, and then how customer support ultimately can automate case communication with the end user and the customer to be able to proactively notify and give that level of customer engagement that they expect. Because oftentimes, it's not the issues that really damage customer relationship, right? It's expectation setting. So the more we're able to get ahead of what's going on in the environment and clearly communicate, the better off we'll be. And ServiceNow provides a lot of the connected pieces necessary to make that happen. So let's talk a little bit about the AIOps side. How do you proactively get ahead of things? Because you have an environment with a number of business services that are working to meet your customer needs. And then the enrichment data layer with all your deployed technology and how those ultimately support your business services. Monitoring tools in the background, we're going to see a little bit about what this looks like from the event management interface. But those monitoring tools are hopefully doing a good job of capturing events and things that we know go bump in the night and providing the information necessary for engineers to respond quickly. This ends up being, though, a whole lot of data to cut through. You have all these logs, events, metrics, all this information. And from a human perspective, being able to analyze, consume, and make decisions on all this information, it became unwieldy, 15, 20 years ago. And it's getting worse and worse and worse with the amount of data coming in. So ServiceNow, providing our AIOps engine, helps make sense of the noise, cut it down, automatically highlights root cause and impact analysis so you have context and information around what's coming in, how they're linked. We're going to see some correlation today, how actionable alerts become incidents, and how multiple alerts together can turn into a single incident, again, to cut down the noise and to streamline what user response looks like. When you get really proactive, which we're not going to directly show today because we're focused on proactive customer support, but we do metric and log anomaly detection to be able to identify issues before they happen or before they cause an impact and be able to get engineers in to fix it. So hopefully you have no customer impact to begin with. But today we're going to talk about what happens when you do have something that's impacting customers and how do you get ahead of that curve so you're not finding it out from your customers. Instead, you're able to proactively communicate with them and work with all the different teams in your organization to drive resolution as quickly as possible. From an AIOps perspective, you're going to see some of this advanced correlation today and the ability to respond and improve on how things go. So AIOps really focuses on a predict, prevent, and automate perspective, right? Let's find the issues before they're causing an impact. Let's prevent the impact from spreading or getting worse and resolve things as quickly as possible. And let's automate those resolutions as much as possible to take the burden off of people, to fix things that we know go wrong, and then to capture relevant information moving forward to ensure that as things do happen, right, we're learning, we're growing, and we're applying wisdom to our environment rather than just being reactive. So that's the nutshell of AIOps and how we're approaching it today, along with the customer relationship management and customer support. And we're going to move into our next polling question and then hand it off to Jimmy so that we can get a layout of what we're actually going to be talking about today from a demo perspective. So our next poll question: where are you at in your AIOps journey? And when we look at AIOps and what we just shared, right? How close are you to being able to cut through all that noise, actually apply a lot of this learned behavior in a way that really adds to your maturity as an organization and moves you from reactive to proactive? Hey, we got a What's AIOps again. Also my contribution. So with that, I'll hand it over to Jimmy. Thanks, Jimmy.
All right. Hopefully you guys can see my screen now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. All right, so hopefully that gave you a good overview of the solution overall, right? Our AIOps, along with what we're going to present in conjunction with CRM. So I'm going to lead us into the demo, and to do that, I'm going to give you a quick overview of Electric Fiber, right? So that's our organization today. We're part of Electric Fiber. We're basically an internet service provider providing fiber services for network to residential customers and potentially to businesses as well. Right. So just if you're not familiar with what that might look like, the central office is really where it all starts. This is where all of our we have a lot of interface cards that provide the connectivity through a bunch of residential splitters that get to residential gateways. And each residential gateway is really tied to an apartment, a house, and ultimately a consumer on the back end. And this is kind of what we have modeled in our CMDB and in our environment today. And really, we also have service that's really like in our case, this FC001 is the card on the left that is going to be the key player in our story today. Something's going to go wrong with this, and we've modeled this as a service, so everything kind of downstream of that is part of a service representing that segment of network. So from a monitoring perspective, we have monitoring at the central office that is looking for traffic flow through the ports. So FC001, P001 is the port, one particular port on this network interface card. And we're monitoring for basically traffic going through the ports. And then all of the residential gateways are sending heartbeats every couple of minutes so that we're aware that the traffic is flowing, that they're up and alive and behaving as expected. So as the story would go for today, we're going to have a connectivity failure. And the first step is somewhere along the way, the network interface card was changed for whatever reason, it had new version of it or updates. And unknowingly, there was a bad port that was part of that card, right? So it initially looks good, traffic is flowing, everything's fine. But after a short amount of time, something fails, right? So when it fails, then monitoring detects that there's suddenly no more data passing through the port. And we're seeing that a bunch of residential gateways are no longer sending heartbeats. Right? So this is kind of the layout of the story. And what we're going to show is what happens and how we triage this and go through remediation after that. So this leads us into the demo, right? Proactive customer service with AIOps in the context of CRM. And this is the story narrative. After this, we're going to hop out of slides, get into the demo instance, and show you live from an instance, kind of all the different personas that you see here. So we're going to walk through a number of different personas, 6 to be exact, and Steve, Michael, Blazer, and I are going to play these roles, right? So I'm going to be the operations center agent. So I'm going to see that there's a bunch of alerts that come in, they get correlated through AIOps, and I'm going to start to investigate and try to figure out what's happening. Shortly afterwards, I'm going to realize that there actually probably is a customer impact. So I need to get basically Michael involved, who's going to be our incident manager. He's going to go through and coordinate communication across Electric Fiber and pull in the right people to make sure that all of the right stakeholders are involved and progressing this investigation and resolution forward. Right. Part of that is he's going to pull in Steve, who's our customer-facing agent. And he's going to end up doing the proactive notification to all the end users. One of the end users is Alicia, right? So Steve's going to play that role. Actually, Steve's going to play a bunch of roles. And then as part of this also, we realize that there's a hardware problem that needs to be replaced, that fiber card. So we're going to actually go through field service, and we're going to have Lisa, who's going to be the dispatcher, trying to figure out who's actually the right person to send out to do that work. That person turns out to be Teddy. Right, so Teddy's going to be the person that's going to receive the job to go out and replace this fiber card. And he's going to be the one out in the field working on this and working through the instance through a mobile device, understanding what he needs to do and communicating back what's happening. And after that's all fixed and changed, we're going to come back to Michael, who's the incident manager, to verify that everything is done correctly and help start closing out the channels across all the different communication platforms that are, or communication pieces that are there, right? So Steve's going to ensure that the customers are notified when everything is complete. And through all this, you're going to see the outcomes that you see on the bottom right. The AIOps alert correlation will reduce noise. We're going to get faster issue detection, faster resolution, and we're going to have customer transparency through all the proactive case notification. All right, so hopefully that makes sense, how I laid that all out. And with that, now we're going to actually hop into the demo instance. All right, so as I've mentioned, I am actually the operations center engineer or agent, and I just wanted to flash this up. This is the service dashboard, right? I mentioned that everything downstream of that port or that card FC001 is part of a service, right? So we can see here there is an impact of some sort to that service. But I just wanted to mention this because this is a view that you might see up in the operations center up on one of the screens. And you can filter and sort through this as you desire. You can categorize things and look at what's actually important to you and just get a quick glimpse of what's actually happening. But from an operations perspective, although I could start here and start drilling down and triaging, most likely I'm not going to. This is just me to get a glimpse of what's happening. I'm probably going to end up doing most of my work through what we call Express List. So think of Express List as really my single pane of glass to understand what's happening across my operational estate. As we mentioned earlier in Michael's overview, right, we have a lot of different monitoring tools coming in, and this is where they all show up, the alerts, right? So at this point, when I'm looking at the alerts, we've already gone through a level of deduplication and basically filtering out things that are not important. So things that show up here are really actionable things that I might want to look at, right? I can change how far back I'm looking. This is a live view, so as things come in, the list will refresh and update. I can see there are several groups of alerts, things that are happening that have been grouped together, some other individual ones. I can see they're coming from multiple different sources. I can see the impact of the different services, what's actually potentially broken, etc. Right? I can bring up this view. And then I can actually look at different filter on different things that are important to me, right? So I can look at things that are open or not open. And in this case, I just want to look at things that are not assigned and being worked on, right? You can see that there are some things that are already critical and urgent. Maybe those are already being worked on by other people. I just want to see things that are not assigned. So I can come in here and I can just say, show me the things that aren't assigned, right? And that filters down the view, and I can change any of the I can do filters very similarly by any other field, simply here, and then I can save views and look at what's actually important to me. But in this case, I'm looking at the alerts that are in the system, and the system's going to help me prioritize what's important to work on first, right? So here I have the highest priority alert happens to be this group of alerts where it looks like no data is being passed through something in our network, right? So the system takes into account, what's impacted, how many alerts there are, et cetera. It's configurable, but in this case, it's telling me that my highest priority issue that's not being worked on is this one. So let's jump in and start trying to figure out what's happening. I can click on it, and this little flyout will show me all the different alerts that are part of the group. If I scroll down, I'm looking at, and I'm seeing that there's a lot of residential gateways that are not sending their heartbeat, right? So I can click on the timeline view, and this shows me those alerts all kind of stacked next to each other. So if I sort by severity here, I'll see that the major alert is the one that came from the monitoring of the data through the fiber card, and it happened first, and then everything kind of downstream of that happened a little bit later. It gives me kind of an indication that something happened with this port or this card, and then all the residential gateway heartbeats that stopped coming were a result of that. So in this case, these alerts have the same severity and they don't change. But if you have a scenario where maybe there's resources that are being consumed and then the resources are being consumed more and more until there are no more resources, you may have an alert that starts out as a warning and becomes a minor and becomes a major and then becomes critical as the severity progresses, right? And you would see that here, just these different segments would potentially change colors as the severity increases. But that's not the case here. But just want to mention, if you're looking at timeline, that's something that you could see. I also have the ability to use Now Assist, which is our generative AI, to tell me what's actually happening across this group of alerts, right? So potentially taking a look at 50 alerts will take a lot of time. So here I'm just getting a quick summary and analysis of like what's actually happening with this group of alerts, and the analysis will tell me a little bit about why it might be happening and what I might want to do next. All right, so I won't get into the details, but that comes up there. Info, as I walk across, will show me a lot of the information here, what's impacted, what's the metrics, and some of that information. And here's one of the key pieces that we can show you as part of AIOps, right? Probable root cause, because we're on the same platform with service management. We know all the changes that are happening to any of the CIs that might be affected as part of the alerts coming in on this group of alerts. So in this case, we have one. You could have many, many changes that show up, as well as alerts if if one alert was the cause of something breaking and that led downstream to other things breaking. It would all show up here, and I can drill in and look at details of what actually changed and what actually happened. So that's something I'm going to keep in mind as we go forward here, that there was a fiber card replacement at some point in the last day. Maybe that's a culprit of something that's happening here. Bring up the link view. This is a graphical view that kind of shows the relationship of all the different things that are a part of the alert itself. Right? I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but there's a few different ways you can look at this. I can come out here, hover over various pieces, and it can show me that this network interface, which is why we grouped this together, happens to show up across all 50 alerts. And you can look at the different hover over the different things in this view, and it gives you an idea of like what it is with what flies out there. And then the display here, you can actually just hide and show things that are more relevant or less relevant to you as you kind of investigate how these things are related and how they're connected. So that's kind of the express list quick view over how I can start triaging the alert. If I know actions that I want to take, I can just start taking actions here. Right? Any of these actions here are available. They all, behind the scenes, they launch subflows. So pretty powerful in what they can actually do. Anything that you can do with a subflow, whether it's create incidents, create outage records, or reach out to systems to restart things, you can do from here. And then if I drill into the alert itself, you'll see that I start out with an overview, which looks a lot like what we saw on the express list. But I can get into the detail view, and here I can see a lot more about what's happening. Like there's a bunch of alerts that are grouped together. Why were they grouped together? The analysis that I ran earlier got saved for me, so I can come back and take a look at what's happening there. If I come back and look at related records, these are all a lot of things that we saw earlier, but it just kind of brings together the overall picture of this all being across a single platform. And then playbook, right? So there's a playbook of what I need to do as a operations center agent when I see this sort of issue. So the first thing, we're going to go and validate that network traffic was impacted. I'm going to check the box there. Yes, we find out that there is impact. Then I'm going to validate that what kind of impact there might be to businesses. And it turns out there aren't any in this case, because we're only that particular port was only controlling traffic to consumers. And yeah, there's definitely consumer impact, right? And then I have a bunch of other telemetry tools that I have available to me if I want to go use them to start triaging further. I can create an outage report. So here I can, we can create a report that puts a banner up on our portal, for example, for affected users to proactively know that something is wrong. And then that set of actions I showed you earlier is also here that I can start executing on. So part of Electric Fiber, if there is a group of alerts that's got a severity of critical or major, we automatically create an incident, right? So here's the incident that got created. You can see right away there's 50 CIs impacted, a bunch of consumers that are impacted. Here's who they all are. And I can tell pretty quickly that there seems to be an issue that we need to deal with here, right? So here you can see one of the actions is to propose a major incident. Our business process says the operations center agent is not really supposed to do major incidents. So in that case, I'm going to actually pull in an incident manager, and I'm going to go ahead and reach out to the experts on call and find out that Michael Blazer is my expert on call. So I need to contact him. So I'm just going to start a sidebar discussion and just for the sake of not watching me type, basically put a message in here that says, we understand that there's an issue and asking him to investigate. So I'm going to start that discussion. And then I'm going to hand over to Michael, who can take over and show you what the incident manager side of things are and how he progresses this forward. So Michael, you want to take it?
Yep.
Jimmy, while Michael's grabbing that, there's a question in chat, and I can't answer it because I might have done it the other way. But why did you guys decide to use tag clustering versus CMDB for the alert grouping, or was it just what was easiest to get the demonstration done? Which is my best guess.
It was part of that. So we basically made it so that any of the alerts that came in, we just walked up to which card was the card that was supporting that from that residential gateway, right? So we just tagged it that way and made it so that anything that had matching fiber cards grouped together. But yeah, we probably could have done CMDB. There's a number of layers and hops in there. So we were a little bit worried that we would pull maybe more things in than it should have just off the bat, but we didn't. We just kind of went with what was fastest to get that cluster for demo.
Yeah, and I can actually show that before I hop into the narrative itself, because this is a good segue to part of what we're going to show. So let's, you should be able to see my screen now. Cool. All right, so I'm in the incident, but I'm going to go to the CMDB workspace to show this model, and I will also answer, there are two questions out there. The affected customers is one of them, and there's a question around playbooks and how that works. I'll get to that in a minute. So going into the CMDB workspace, here's why we use tag clustering. If we look at the actual breakdown, you got your fiber card, right, with a number of ports. So we're looking specifically at port 001 that it has had a failure. And the way we have this currently mapped is each one of these splitters, there's fiber splitters and there's fiber physical connections that we're using. Now, depending on if you're using TMI or a lot of other capabilities in here, you can route directly through a circuit that skips all this physical layout as an ISP. I really care about both the circuit working and all the fiber lines working correctly. But in this case, there's a lot of hops between the port itself, all the different splitters and the different fiber lines directly, and the residential gateway. So it was an ease of use situation because our focus is on connected systems between front office and back office more so than the technical layout and how we get this how we get the correlation done. So that's the direct and real answer. But if you look at this, right, you can see it's a rather complex backend system. There's a question around the affected customers and how do we determine that. So all of these residential gateways here are connected to an install base item, and that install base item is essentially a customer service record that links. We actually deliver and give them their residential gateway as part of our ISP service. That gateway is then assigned to that consumer with the location that the service is being provided. And so having that connectivity between the customer relationship side, what we're selling and giving to the customer, and the backend CMDB side allows you to easily see the impacted consumers based off of that. So I'm going to go back over here, right? The affected consumers based off of the install item. The impacted services, we did mention there was a service there, and Jimmy had sent over this this sidebar channel for me and him to talk. I immediately recognized that, hey, this is a big deal. So we need to be able to create a major incident over this. I'm going to bring Steve into the conversation so he can get started on customer communications. There is a lot of ways we can do each of these pieces. We're specifically just showing you, again, the sausage making so you could see all the connectivity from a system perspective itself. But each of these things can be automated very easily with just a button to add CRM in and go to the closest person, whatever the case may be. But I brought Steve into the conversation. I'm going to go ahead and promote this as a major incident and let him know that we are going to create a major case out of this as well, because obviously we have a consumer impacting incident and we need to be able to communicate with them as quickly as possible. So when you look at something like, I know with my my Southern California Edison, I live in SoCal. My Southern California Edison outages occur, and oftentimes I get notified well after I'm impacted. And it could be 30 minutes, it could be 45 minutes until they send out a communication going, we noticed that your power's out. Same type of thing with my ISP. The idea here is that we can turn this from 30 to 45 minutes into a couple of minutes, even with business process attached. If you wanted to automate this, this could go out within a couple of minutes tops of the actual customer impacting thing occurring. So because of that, we're showing you again each individual piece. The generate proactive cases here is the button I'm going to click. We could do this automatically based on the criteria from the events that are coming in. So I will go ahead and generate these proactive cases like I let Steve know, and Steve's going to be working on that. We'll have a major case and a number of minor cases which affect each consumer. So similar to how we do on the technical side, we respond with a major incident and then a number of child incidents. On the case side, we're creating all those child cases so that each consumer is associated with their own unique case. Steve will go into what that looks like from a consumer perspective when we get over there. But me as a major incident manager, I validated the impact. I'm going to go ahead and promote this to a major incident. Again, based on your business process, right? You may have a proposal that needs to go to certain leadership to be able to acknowledge it. Either way, though, we're going to capture this as a major incident. I'm going to do it as quickly as possible. Due to customer impact, we are making this a major incident. So we're going to go ahead and promote it. And one of the things, again, for ease of use with this, there's a major incident playbook that that can do a lot of work, but we were focused on the connected systems. So I'm going to show you a different record to look at what the communication plan can look like. In this case, though, once we bring it up to a major incident, you can see we've added a communicate and a playbook. There is a major incident specific playbook that has a whole lot of information associated with it, including communication, collaboration, resolution, problem, and post-incident review. All of these pieces bring the major incident workflow together. I'm going to come back here, though, and do a little bit of troubleshooting on the incident side and see what's going on, just so you can see some of these capabilities. So in this case, there are recommended actions, right? The first recommended actions were to create a major incident. I can also look at suggested steps by Now Assist on what we need to do to actually resolve this thing. So right here, steps to resolve multiple residential gateways. It gives me an investigative breakdown. We'll also be able to capture the resolution steps from this perspective. So there was a question about playbooks and knowledge articles. All that data is connected. And if you think of it from a hierarchy perspective, right? You get something that happens. You can see what the most likely steps are based off of whatever your LLM is and the previous knowledge that you have. When you resolve something, you can use generative AI to take all the resolution stuff to turn it into an actual knowledge article. Once you get the knowledge article, you can then turn those knowledge articles into playbook. There's AI throughout the process that can allow you to take each of those steps. So you can go from something that is ad hoc to something that is formalized, repeatable, and ultimately automated. So again, we're showing all the manual steps, but all of this can be automated in a lot of ways. On my end, I'm just going to show you real quick a really failed incident. The nice part is capturing things from a major incident perspective, like SLAs for all these different communication channels. This can happen directly from that major incident playbook. So you can have all the individual SLAs and timestamps that are necessary around communication, around resolution, to be able to holistically track how well your organization's doing in regards to responding to these major incidents. We're going to come back over to this major incident here. And we're going to communicate and quickly, again, this can be automated, but we're going to quickly create a new communication to go out to the internal service desk. So service desk notification. I'm focused on making sure that the service desk knows, hey, we've got problems going on with the ISP. You may be getting calls. Let's make sure that you're covered in what you're doing. Because of the way that this communication is set up, I can do Dex Desktop Assistant, email or SMS. I can also automatically put in a conference channel. So if I wanted to spin up a bridge, I could do it directly from this interface and include all the impacted parties from the service owner to the different on-call teams for the different impacted configuration items. For now, we're just going to quickly do an email and the Dex desktop assistants. If you have Dex, what you'd be able to do with that is be able to automatically push a notification to their desktop. So in this case, we're looking at that. We're going to compose the communications. We have some templates that we can use for this. My job is to help prepare people for the rush. So I'm going to go ahead and do the default communication for, no, you know what? I'm going to show you this one, the initial communication for business. We're going to change this template over. And the reason being is because you can see that, again, with generative AI, we had the description that was created from AI, and that gets populated directly into this template. Number of ways, like I said, you can automate this, but all in all, we've got this ready to go to the service desk. And from a Dex perspective, we can have really filled out templates or light templates, whatever we want to do. ISP outage, I'm just going to put as a title, and we can add whatever message. Expect incoming calls. We have an outage. See email for more details. This can be pre-populated as well. So we're going to go ahead and send initial communication. Oh, whoops. It didn't get my. There we go. Send. I've now communicated internally. Our tech teams are ready to go. Let's see. I'm going to go back and start looking at the related records. As you can see from an incident perspective, right, there's a lot more information here because we're responding to an incident itself. You can see all those 50 cases that were made. The alert that came in, now there's all the underlying alerts, but this is part of the power of AIOps, right? We took those 50 alerts, and where those would be individual incidents back in the day due to correlation, although we did use tag-based, right? We have the one-to-one alert grouping that makes it much easier to identify exactly what's going on. And all of this information as we're going through it is being captured in the log as well. So generative AI really helps there. When we get to resolution, we'll be able to showcase that as well. But we can plug in like the steps to resolve if they worked or not, additional knowledge articles if there's anything there, agent assist, collaboration. There's a lot of capabilities of managing your communication channels, and it could be through Teams, it could be through Slack. It doesn't necessarily have to be in this sidebar, but we're focused on the sidebar today. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Steve to send customer communications and make sure that we are ahead of the game. We troubleshooted this. We identified that there was a port on the replacement card that's malfunctioning. I'm going to ask Steve to go ahead and coordinate sending out a tech to address this and make sure we get everything buttoned up, customers are aware, and we can resolve it as quickly as possible. With that, I will pass it to you, Steve.
Cool. Now I took the ball here. We're ready to go. So yeah, so what you're going to see from me is that I'm going to be focused more on the CRM side, right? So when most people hear, most people hear CRM, they think of sales, but it actually covers everything tied to customer interaction, like sales, service, field service, contracts, and even order management. Which we can all we support on our platform. So you're going to see my company, Electri, manage all of that on one unified platform, the same platform that also runs the IT operations that was handled by Jimmy and Michael. So we're going to start with the communication, the proactive communication through the major case. Then you're going to see how the customer views their case and the message itself. and then we're going to wrap up in the field service to close the loop. Awesome. So I'm playing the role of the senior support rep, and my job is to handle customer communication throughout the major incidents, right? Keeping impacted customers informed, making sure that they get clear, timely updates through to resolution. So I'm going to start off in the sidebar here. I just got a notification. Looks like there's an incident going on. I got communication between Michael and Jimmy. So great. So I'm going to go ahead and open up that record, which I did here. So as you see, I clicked on the open record here within the sidebar. I'm going to push this in. Yeah, I can see that, I'm just getting some, I'm just trying to understand what I'm working with here, right? So just to emphasize, this impact tile here, and this is kind of what Michael Blazer kind of mentioned and went through, like on his side of the house here. But this is what this is what connects the impacted CI to the install base, right? And then it uncovers the affected consumers, because those consumers are subscribed to those services. And this is what we call, or this is what it's called, a service aware CMDB, showing who's impacted in the near real time based on data from the CMDB. And this is one of our biggest differentiators, right? So, and because it's all on a single unified platform, we can do this at scale and support customers much more efficiently. All right, so jumping into the major case here, I can see all the cases that were created. So let's jump into one. And essentially, what you're going to see here, just to give you some context as this loads up, you're going to see some fields on the left side. It's going to be fully configurable as this loads up here. And really, the key information, finally came up here. Great. But really, like all the rich information has transferred over from the incident automatically to maintain that data integrity. And essentially, what a major case lets me do is it lets me consolidate all the individual minor cases with their affected customers into a single parent case, making it easier for me to communicate with all of those 49 customers from one record. And this is the record here. So it's going to help improve not only efficiency, but helps reduce unnecessary calls to the contact center, which is going to be a huge cost savings on the operational part of it. All right, so let's go ahead and send out the notification here to the customer, to all the consumers. And I can easily broadcast this out, a proactive message to all the impacted customers here within the additional notes. So we're going to send that out. And as you can see, each of the notification is sent to the customers individually, and they can receive them via either text message, email, or even push notifications through their service portal. And then we also support other messaging channels like WhatsApp for those international use cases. So yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and update Jimmy and Blazer via group chat real quick. I'm gonna say all of the affected. I'll open up my group chat here. Yeah, I think because it's sending those messages in real time. And I'm going to send that message out in a sec here. There it is. Cool. So we'll go ahead and send that out. Awesome. All the affected customers have been proactive notified. And in a real world scenario, like while Michael is like working on the initial troubleshooting, I'm working in parallel, right? And pushing out these notifications so that customers are, they're notified right away. So as we're working through this, we're kind of working in parallel to this. Okay, so next I'm going to switch hats. I'm going to be the consumer, Alicia Jennings, on one of the affected customers. So let's do that. So I'm going to play the role of the customer, Alicia. I just received a text message, via SMS with a link on my phone and I open that up and it opens up to the actual case record, right? So the message that you're going to see that Alicia sees is actually right here, right? So and then she's able to click onto this and it'll open up this record. And what you're seeing here is the service portal, right? This is a place where customers can self-serve and have access to the data and actions that I'm authorized to use. So the first thing I notice is the red banner up here on the top of the page. This is letting me know that there's a network issue. Just another way to notify only the users that are affected by the issue. And depending on your business process, this banner can also be automatically, created when Jimmy initially logs the outage record at the start of the demo. And so I can see the status of the case here, just to kind of give you some context here, and along with the communications and updates right here at the bottom, as you can see, which gives me confidence that the issue is being actively addressed, and I have the option to respond if I need to. But in this case, I'm just gonna let it go. Everything is good. I'm just glad that the internet's gonna be up here soon, hopefully, right? So I'm gonna switch roles again. So from this, I'm gonna switch to the back to me, which is the senior support rep. Okay, so in the group chat, Michael right here. So he found out that the network card is malfunctioning, and we need to send out a technician to physically, inspect and swap out that card. So depending on your business process, a work order can be created either against a case or as in this example, directly from a incident. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and create that. Actually, we're going to go into the incident because this is the major case here and create that work order. Cool. So as that loads up, awesome. All the details from the incident, again, and the case carries over automatically, keeping everything consistent and maintaining that data integrity again. So like the information that was moved was like, the CI, the actual affected CI location, description, all carried over. And essentially all I need to do is add in the work order template, which is the network troubleshooting and repair. And yeah, so essentially a work order template, it lets you create those tasks quickly and consistently, providing technicians with clear instructions. Required parts can be included. The skills that are needed to perform that job will be included so they can find the right technician to complete that job correctly for the first time. So now that I put in the template, location looks good, affected CI is great. I got the short descriptions in here. I'm gonna go ahead and save this, and then I'm gonna send it off to dispatch because we've completed everything here. Okay, so once I submit this to dispatch, what happens here if I go into related records is you're going to see the work order task here that was automatically created, and that task, like we mentioned in the beginning, ServiceNow is a workflow platform, right? We create tasks for individuals or to specific systems to complete work, and this is one of the tasks, a work order task that was sent to the technician, assigned to the technician there. Okay. Awesome. So next, now that we've created the work order, dispatched that, we're gonna go now switch gears to the dispatcher who's gonna receive and assign that work to the technician, all within the same unified platform here. So now I'm playing the role of Lisa Ray, the dispatcher at Electri. So I'm not going to go too deep into everything here, but what you're seeing is a single pane of glass where dispatchers have a complete view into their field operations, right? So from internal technicians to third-party contractors, I can track all of that work in this single view. And it's scalable, it's intelligent, it can automatically adapt to changes driven by the optimization engine. And this way, dispatchers can focus on critical work orders that require a human to make those, one-off scheduling decisions, right? So as you can see all the jobs that are assigned to the technicians here in the middle, but then you can also see all the technicians that are assigned or that are part of this service territory. Again, you can also manage contractors in here too from a capacity basis. And yeah, and then these jobs are color coded, right? So it's making it easy to spot what's in progress and anything that might be at risk. And on the left side here are your filtered lists that you can create as well. You can create new list, a list of jobs that I can take action on that I want to pinpoint and take action on those. I can also see a different view, right? So this is a schedule view. I can see a map view or even a hybrid view of it. So this way I can manage my work, right? So all this great stuff, we have a robust field service management platform that can help find the right technician, right? Automatically assign jobs to the right technician based on the skills, availability, required parts, other factors, right? Adhering to the scheduling policy. Okay, awesome. I know I kind of went through that quickly. I'm gonna switch roles again to the um, to the technician, Teddy Taylor. So in a little bit, you're going to see that I've been assigned a job. And so I'm logged in to the field service mobile app. I'm as Teddy Taylor. Um, and the mobile app, it works both on iOS and Android. It's offline ready, syncs seamlessly to ServiceNow, and can be fully configured to fit your your field service needs. And so from here, I can see at the bottom here, at the bottom of the pages, I can see the inventory. I can see my van stock. I can request parts, right? I can go ahead and go into the sidebar, right, and interact, DM whoever I need to specifically to this work order task, whatever. And then we have the notification as well. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to jump into the work order here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So we're going to click into that. And I'm ready to start my day. I can see everything I need to do, all the key details in one place. I'm going to go ahead and accept this job, right? And so when I accept this job, that's a platform event. So that's going to automatically start a timer. So this way we can track SLAs, track travel time and actual work time as well, like the wrench time. And so from here, let's go ahead and I'm going to start travel again just to track that travel time, and then go ahead and once I get to the location, I can start my work. So now I'm starting my work. It's gonna start off the wrench time, if you will. And as that goes on here, so I see all the descriptions, all the information I need to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my playbook real quick. And I'm just going to run through this really quickly because it's just the playbooks are designed for to fit your needs, right? So these are just general ones. And so the first one I need to do is troubleshoot. This is going to bring up related articles, so I can go and find manuals or what have you, or troubleshooting guides. And then next, I can go ahead and remove parts, right? Replace parts. So from my inventory stock in my van, I can grab that and replace it, and install that new part into the networking device, and then that'll automatically provide the right levels in the inventory levels in my van stock, and also it'll be logged as within the install base as well. I can record time. I can log incidentals if I need to. But from now, I'm done. I went through my knowledge articles. I fixed everything. I replaced it. Everything's working. Everything's lighting up. So we're going to go ahead and close out this work order. Okay, so let's do that. And then we're going to go ahead and complete this close here, right? And I have the ability to create a follow-up task if I need to, but I'm not going to do that today. So one of the things that, the technicians sort of, what they hate really is writing a debrief. Like nobody likes that, right? It takes time. Usually it's not very detailed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let Now Assist AI do the debrief. So it's going to run through all the descriptions. It's going to run through the work notes, and it's gonna see what I've done, and record that information and give me a Gen AI summary of it, right? And I have the ability to update it if I want to. But in this case, everything looks great. This is perfect. I'm going to go ahead and close this task. So So this way, it's going to create a clean, accurate debrief, saving time and also improving reporting because you're getting accurate data, right? And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and take a picture real quick of the work that I've done just to ensure that it's all working fine and dandy here. And then we're going to go ahead and use this photo. Perfect. I can also write into this if I wanted to, right? And kind of color code, like kind of direct their attention to specific lighting or whatever, what have you, or write into it. So let's add that. Perfect. And that's uploading that. And then now that it's been uploaded into the work order task, that's going to be shared into that record so that all the stakeholders are able to see that. Okay. Perfect. So now that I completed the work order, everything is all complete as Teddy. I'm going to go back as Steve into the into my ServiceNow UI, and I just got a notification, right, that the work order has been complete, or Teddy Taylor might have added me to added a comment on me and just at Steve for directed to me. And so now I'm going to quickly just message the group chat here that the work order has been completed successfully. Please verify. And I'm going to send that out. Cool. And then now it's going to send it to, Jimmy and Michael, and I'm going to hand it back to Michael to close us out.
There we go. Okay, I should be sharing my screen now. Can everybody see the incident? Looks like it. So notice the resolution notes here are already pre-filled. So in this case, I've gotten notification.
Hold on 1 second. 1 second, Michael. Okay, you're good now. Sorry.
Okay. No worries. So I got validated from Steve. Obviously, in a real world situation, there would be more automation and a lot more communication and components that go into this. We're trying to summarize it as quick as possible to be able to show you all the different pieces, right? But in this case, because of the fact of the way that we're set up, when the work order got completed and the new fiber card was put into place, the alert conditions were removed. All of a sudden, the residential gateways start working again. The port is showing traffic going through it, and we can see if we jump over here to the service dashboard that service that we were looking at, right, is now green. So our FC001 prod service is green. Alert conditions are gone. By default, the way that we created it is that's going to close the major incident. Now, it doesn't have to do that. That's just the way that we have it designed here. And now assist automatically filled in the resolution notes. We can tie the resolution notes to the work order notes, but in a real world scenario, there may be a number of different layers there. We could have the work order notes populate the incident directly with work notes as well. There's a lot of ways we can approach that. In this case, from a major incident perspective, we just have the validation stage. So me as a major incident owner is validating this. We can go down and we can see the resolution notes that it was solved remotely, permanently, and all of that was generated automatically. Where and how you want to connect that matters. But for me as a major incident owner, my day just got a lot better because my incident is resolved. And you can see the post-incident report here. Same thing goes for the case side of the house. The major case may automatically be closed, but you may want to leave the minor cases open for a period of, say, 4 hours or 5 days, whatever the case may be, to ensure that if those folks are still having issues, they can respond and validate independently. We can also do forward-facing communication of, hey, we've resolved it on the back end. You may still be experiencing issues. If you are, here's the instructions to reboot your residential gateway and router. in your home to ensure that you're up and running, to make sure that just because we fixed it on the back end doesn't mean the front end is fixed, and we can be really diligent in the way that we approach those. So depending on how you want to do it from a business perspective, we have a lot of different options of making sure that these workflows are really tied to the outcomes you're trying to plan and achieve. And we have the ability to capture the appropriate information for future state, so that we don't have to go through these things again. Hopefully we can proactively resolve them or avoid them. In this case, right, with the change having issues, it would be better if that change had no issues and we had better validation coming out the gate. But we're moving into the post-incident report stage, where we capture the incident summary, the timelines, the different related records. In this case, we created a problem that's associated with this. We can track that to root cause. We can see the different contributors who all responded and were a part of this. If there was a bridge going on, we could capture the bridge details, and then go ahead and publish the post-incident report for review, so that all of the key stakeholders know exactly what happened and how we got to where we are at today, and we can use that to drive improvements moving forward in the future. So that concludes our demo. Again, a lot of different pieces. Oh, there's a question there, Michael. So the question is, it seems like this demo shows two leads for the incident who provide oversight and coordination. The network incident lead, Michael Blazer, the CS ops incident lead, Steve Wang. How does the system scale up to handle hundreds of events per day? Is that a scenario that needs to be more automation than oversight? So the answer is absolutely yes. So this was this is showing a bunch of different ways that you can approach it. So in our case, we have a network operations center guy with Jimmy. Myself, I'm the major incident technical side of the house. So I'm focused on coordinating the response from the back end. Are we communicating appropriately? Are we meeting our SLAs? Are we hitting expectations? And Steve was responsible for he was the communications lead or business relationship management role. That was specific to, based on how these things are going down, who's impacted, and how do we effectively communicate that. If there's an internal issue that hits a corporate application instead of our fiber line, Steve may never be a part of it. But I have the abilities as a major incident process owner to also continue to drive communications and resolution. In a real world scenario, based on the events and the workflows that you have, there could be a number of different things. I worked on this as a major incident process owner for quite a while, and there are times when business continuity was brought in. There are times when an entire, if you have a really large issue at like a data center, there's an entire incident response team that included a lot of our leadership folks who played specific roles. But when it comes to events and what's going on, if there's a lot of little events, obviously those operations teams would be responding to those directly as much as possible. This specifically was a major incident, so we were looking at it from a major incident perspective with a number of impacted consumers. Hopefully that's not happening hundreds of times today. But Jimmy himself would be working out of this express list view to be able to respond to all these different alerts and groupings that are going on, as well as whatever our operations teams look like. So the point is, real world scenarios are complicated, and yes, you do want to automate as much as possible. And ServiceNow provides the connectivity to allow you to minimalize who's responding to what, but extrapolate in the cases of these larger issues, how the front end teams who work with the customers interact with the technology teams who work on the engineering side, along with the service desk teams who may be fielding questions, and the key stakeholders to be able to communicate out how their services are actually performing and what we're doing to resolve those things. So at each layer, there's a lot of complexity. We provide as many tools as possible to reduce overhead and to streamline operations and efficiencies, so the right parties are called at the right times to be able to engage in the right ways to be able to meet our overall expectations of what the business is trying to achieve. This is a good question. Hopefully that answered it. And I think we're ready to move into our final poll and Q&A session. So I will go ahead and stop my screen share, and we'll hop over to the poll around this, and then we can have open Q&A.
Cool. Okay. I am unmuted. Cool. So before I will trigger this poll question first. So to close it out, we just have a few more questions for you, and I'll also share some resources if you're already missing them. And we are curious about your AI ideas. You've seen the fantastic demo from Jimmy, Steve, and Michael today showing how we can achieve proactive customer service by using CRM and AIOps from ServiceNow. And if there were things that you can automate that you saw today with AI, what would your top priority be of the options that we're giving you in the poll today? So really useful for us to know. There are some things obviously on the roadmap coming up for how we'll include more AI in our AI app solution, but we're curious to see what your priorities are.
Hey, this is looking pretty good. There's a pretty good spread, and depending on your role and where you sit in the organization, absolutely expected to see this differential across all these things. It's the connected data model and the connected workflow platform that allows you to pick and choose the lowest hanging fruits and automate them, but then getting the AI components to actually showcase where you have bottlenecks. There's a lot of other capabilities we have to help you in identifying the areas in your environment and how best to take action on automating those things. So I think ServiceNow is fairly unique in the field when it comes to that complete connectivity from top to bottom. So thank you, Victoria. That's a great poll question.
Yes.
And
Well,
thank you, folks, for the transparency.
yeah, and if you had any ideas that weren't in that poll question that are a higher priority for you, feel free to put in the chat as well. And because, like I mentioned at the beginning of today, that this is a recurring session where we go into deep dive topics about AIOps and topics relating to AIOps, including how we can work with CRM to have proactive customer service. Curious about some of your what you would want to see from us next year. We don't have any more sessions scheduled for this year, but in 2026, is there anything else that you'd like to go or for us to go deeper on? Thank you again.